Hey, we're on at Nerdvana Live. Welcome. Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
So this is at Nerdvana Live. We are broadcasting live from the at Nerdvana Coffee Plus shop. Actually, we're kind of halfway between the coffee shop and the restaurant, which is at Nerdvana Food and Spirits. In front of me, you can't see it, but I can see the top of the bar, which was packed yesterday because it was St. Patrick's Day, and so everybody was getting their drink on. Behind me, you can kind of see some of it, is the coffee shop. It's a board game themed coffee shop in Frisco, Texas, and this is where we're broadcasting live. And of course, at Nerdvana Live is a live call-in show, which means that if you want to talk to us, you can. It also means that people will call in and anything can happen. I have no idea what people want to talk about, what they're going to say, and that could be fun. So so that's the deal. Now, I'm Randy Pitchford. I am your host this week, and my co-host is Erica Steed.
Hi.
Erica is the licensing director at Gearbox Software. That means that she works with people that want to license our brands for making all kinds of cool stuff. And it looks like you brought a bunch of stuff.
I brought some things.
We'll look at all that in a minute. And we're gonna do so. We'll talk for a little bit. This is the format of the show. We'll chat about some stuff going on in the industry. We'll probably talk about merchandise and swag and licensing for a bit, and then we'll take calls. So if you want to talk to us, feel free to call in. The number should be on the screen. There's also a Discord server. I will take phone calls before I take Discord calls. I think Discord works this week, so maybe we'll try it, but we'll see how it goes. Also, after the show, I'll probably hang out at Nerdvana for a little bit. So if you are in North Dallas, you're in the Frisco area, you want to come by and say hi, you're welcome to do that. And that's all the housekeeping I've got.
Yeah, and I've never done the live call-in thing before, so all your mean questions, come on. Come at me, bro.
This is Erica's a first timer. So we've had some cool folks. Varnell's done a couple times.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Mikey did it with me. Obviously, Elisa was a co-host for a while. Who else has done the show?
I saw Kester.
Kester did it. That was
yeah.
that was really, really fun. And we've had, and I had a magician come by, Rudy Kobe.
Oh, yeah.
The coolest magician on earth. He was in town for a lecture, and he just popped on. Like he just walked in. I'm like, oh my god, that's Rudy back there. Get on the show. So we just kind of dragged him onto the show.
So we will be looking for interesting people down there. So
that's right. That's right. There's some right now spying on us. Cool. So. So this week has been pretty gnarly because next week, literally starting tomorrow, is the annual Game Developers Conference, which is in San Francisco, California. And I believe you're going.
Yes, I'm going.
And I'm going.
You're going.
And there's a handful of other folks from Gearbox that are going. And last year at the Game Developers Conference, I did a talk on some next-gen rendering techniques that we were exploring for future unannounced products. And I think the video that came from, like, I saw one, there's a whole bunch of it. It's on the internet duplicated a billion times, but I saw one video that had well over 1 million views of it. Yeah, like I think multiple million. I'm not sure.
And there was a lot of conspiracy theorizing about what it was that you showed.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I didn't mean to tease. I was there because our partners in Raleigh that make the Unreal Engine, Epic Games. Incidentally, they also develop Fortnite, which we are the retail publisher for. Gearbox Publishing does the retail publishing for Fortnite. And Tim Sweeney called me and invited me out to share some tech. He's like, hey, we're doing this cool Unreal keynote. What do you got? Do you got anything cool on Unreal? And I just showed them some of the stuff we were doing, and they thought it was really cool and invited us out to talk about that. But we don't really have, we don't really look at GDC as a marketing beat.
Yeah.
It's just, but there's a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of people to meet. It's really, like, I don't know how it is for you, but for me, it's mostly a networking event.
Well, this year will be my first year actually attending. I've been in town during it,
Yeah.
supporting other things.
Yeah.
But I've never actually got to be at GDC.
Oh, okay. What kind of pass do you have?
What?
What kind of GDC pass?
I have the cheap one.
Yeah,
because I have meetings all day, every day.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah. So I used to, like, back in the early days, I remember when it was just a handful of people and it was mostly coders, and it was called the Computer Game Developer Conference. So it was CGDC.
Wow.
That was the early days, and it was a lot of fun, and I actually learned stuff back then. I'm sure there's things I could learn, but there's very few things that I learn that I can't get the information more efficiently through other means, and it's also very difficult to find the content that's most relevant specifically to me.
Yeah, they don't exactly have like a Randy Pitchford track.
But there is useful stuff there, and I like the exchange of ideas, and it's just so massive now. There's like thousands and thousands of game developers in town during the GDC, and there's an expo where mostly like hardware and software and middleware and things are being shown off. It's not real. It's not like E3. It's for developers. So I'm looking forward to that. I've got a pretty full dance ticket. I've got tons of meetings. How are you looking?
I have like a nonstop panic in the back of my brain about trying to fit all of my meetings
Okay.
in. So,
Yeah.
It's I'm so tight that I feel like I'm going to have made some double scheduling error, and
sure.
Yeah, or
it wouldn't be GDC if that didn't happen. So
yeah, if I find out I'm double scheduled, I'm just going to be like, hey, why don't you come with me to my next meeting, and maybe some magic will happen. Who knows?
That's awesome. So. Are there lots of what kind of, like, I'm just curious from your seat as licensing director, what kind of, like, what are the highest priorities for you? What are the highest value meetings that you're going to have?
Let's see. I have several with hardware companies. We are, without giving away too much, we are open to some possibilities with hardware companies. We're looking for some partnerships, both for specific titles and also, I know we've talked about kind of the idea of a studio-wide partnership and what kind of crazy out-of-the-box things we can do there. I also have a couple of actually more like physical goods, toys type of
awesome.
meetings, which that's not the typical thing that you would do at GDC, but some people happen to be in town.
So may as well double dip,
we have I have to be really careful how I talk about this because I don't want to give away. I have a couple of prospective software licensees, so people who want to license our characters for some software efforts.
Okay, cool.
And I'm like biting my tongue because I don't want to give away too much more.
Yeah.
And yeah, mainly I think hardware is probably the top priority.
That's cool. Well, at GDC that makes a lot of sense because all those guys are there, and it's a really interesting time for you, I think, because we have 5 brands, but we also are creating some new things. New IP, but we're also creating new things within some of our brands. And when you know that there's a title on the horizon, you want to line up as much opportunity as you can around that so that things all kind of come together at the same time. And I imagine that's pretty exciting. Yeah,
and that's also one reason I'm trying to keep my dance card not entirely full is because I want to be open to magic.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, some of the best stuff that I've had out of GDCs in the past have been the things that happen organically.
Yeah.
I have a few scheduled things though that I'm really actually excited about. There's some pretty interesting, pretty high level stuff that I'm pretty. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to see how it goes down. But what's tough for me though is there's a few kind of pathways that are kind of mutually exclusive, and so I'm trying to figure out how do I have my, like, man, that's really awesome, but that's awesome, but man, I really can't do both of these things,
And you don't want to like lead anybody on.
That's right. Yeah.
You have to sort of see the cards for both before you can.
Yeah. So it's really interesting how that works, and I'm sure that's the same for everybody that has to deal with that. So what was the last big thing that you went to before GDC?
Toy Fair, which was Awesome.
So Toy Fair, that's right up your alley.
Yeah.
So that's where stuff gets made. What were some of the coolest things that came out of Toy Fair for you?
Okay, so what's really cool about Toy Fair, I've been going to gaming trade shows for a while now, and I hate to say it, but I've gotten a little bit jaded to them. I've seen almost every new game already, or I've heard about it through the grapevine. I've seen all sorts of booth designs, but Toy Fair is... Every booth is distractingly exciting. Anything that could be construed as a toy, whether it's like paint sets or science kits or, action figures or collectibles, it's all there. Every age group, like from adults to little kids to adults who think they're little kids. We had one day that was nonstop meetings. 2K was there with me as well.
Okay.
So we just had one day that was every half hour we were somewhere new. We met with almost every toy manufacturer that you have ever heard of making video game
That's
related
awesome.
things. Yeah, we met with some of our existing partners like Mcfarlane, met with Cryptozoic, we met with, I don't know how much name dropping I should be doing here.
Well, you're not going to get in trouble with me, but
Yeah.
be respectful of the partners.
Yeah, we met with a few different partners who we're working on things with, but we haven't really revealed what we're doing.
Okay.
We met with some perspectives. I actually did one day just walking around and kind of like dropping cards and talking to people. Found some people who do like really cool vinyl decals.
Okay.
For like both walls in your house or like in your car or on your car.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
like for walls in your house, so like you put it on a wall, and it's like you're looking into like
it could
Crimson
be
Raiders headquarters or something.
It could be like, Mordecai is walking out of a fake door in your house. Or
Oh, that's awesome.
Be like
I want it.
landscape.
Okay, here's what I need.
Okay.
You have to make this happen if you're dealing with them.
All right.
I need a little. It's a slot about this big, and it's open. And Crazy Earl is looking.
That has to happen, and it could be like a manageable
size. It just
size.
needs just about that big, and you see Crazy Earl, and he's like, "What'd you want?" I'll supply the voice.
Okay, what would be really great to feature this whole thing? If it's a decal, but then it's like AR, so it's a decal, and then you put your phone on it, and Crazy Earl actually blinks at you. Or
Can they do? Are they doing that now?
Yeah, I actually saw one booth where they were doing this really well. It was super cool.
That sounds awesome. Oh my god, I totally need that. Okay, so you brought a bunch of stuff.
I did.
By the way, if you want to call in and talk with us, the number should be on the screen, and we're here at the Nerdvana Live podcast with Erica, who is director of licensing at Gearbox, and we're going to look at some cool
stuff.
merch and toys and stuff. What do you got?
Okay.
What did you bring?
So first of all, this is, and I can't see myself, so if I'm
there's the screen. Can you see?
Okay, now I can see myself. Now I can see myself. Okay, so this was a weapon manufacturer's patch and pin set. We actually did
this looks like it's like a box, and it looks like a red chest from Borderlands, and it says Borderlands Weapon Manufacturer's Patch and Pin Set Loot Crate exclusive. So this is in a Loot Crate.
Yes, this was in the Loot Crate gaming crate. This was in the fall. I want to say it was September's.
Oh, cool.
And this was actually like the last thing I did before I went on maternity leave.
Oh, so. Awesome. So it looks like you've got a Vladoff patch, a Torg patch, and this is a Hyperion pin and a Bandit pin. I don't have this. This is so awesome.
I have one with your name on it.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
You know what we need to. This is so cool. This should be in our. Oh, I broke it.
It's totally
I'm terrible.
ruined.
This should be in our
ruined.
glass display case. I do notice our logo on the back. I like seeing that.
Yep.
That's great. By the way, this is not a toy. This is for
that's
ages
cool.
3 and up.
Yeah, you must be responsible with your patch and pen set. No putting it in your mouth.
I think it was the other way.
Which way does it go?
There you go. If you want it, it's facing the same way it was before.
Oops.
That's cool. So Loot Crate they're a pretty cool business. I was told by someone that the guy that started Loot Crate, the guy that founded it, got the idea from Borderlands. Like, he was playing Borderlands and thought, like, oh, opening loot chests is fun. We should come up with something where people can open loot chests in real life. That I was told that. That sounds pretty rad. But it's a cool business. Apparently, what do? You subscribe.
Yes.
And you pay like $20 a month or something, or
they have a lot
$10 a
of
month.
different
There's all
options
kinds of
now.
different
Yeah.
tiers, yeah. And they'll send you this box full of goodies. And there's a game specific one now.
Yes, yeah. So now you can narrow it down to like if you're mostly interested in games, which is, I mean, I'm kind of interested in some of the other stuff, but I am definitely like the Loot Crate gaming customer
Yeah.
because I like some of the, comics and other things they do, but I love games.
Yeah,
so
cool. Well, it's smart for them to specialize. Back in the day, it had a little bit of everything. Like had some games, some
Yeah.
comic book, some movie stuff. But I like the idea of specialization. So that's cool. And I guess we do things with them from time to time.
Yeah, we have in the past. I'd like to do more just because I think I do think that it's a great experience for the fan, that opening a loot chest in real life. And if you like loot chests in real life, you probably like Borderlands. So
Probably. Yeah, that's a good point. What else you got, Erica?
All right, so we have, if you are a Borderlands fan and you follow the happenings of such things, you probably know that we are working with Mcfarlane.
What?
This is Tiny Tina, and she's got her
Hold on a
little-
second.
We can take it out of the box. If you
Let
want
me
to.
just hold that up a little closer. So this is a Tiny Tina action figure from Mcfarlane Toys. And I don't know if you've noticed, but she's got the battle axe from Assault on Dragon's Keep, which was Tiny
Yeah.
Tina's expansion in Borderlands 2.
Yeah, and she holds it really well too. Like we've done all kinds of cool poses around the studio with her. But yeah, we have Tiny Tina, Handsome Jack, Zero. Those are out now.
So are all the Mcfarlane toys, are they just like Borderlands 1 branded with just the raw Borderlands logo?
So
Because it doesn't say Borderlands 2, even
yeah,
though
we
Tiny
just
Tina's
kept
a
it all
Borderlands 2.
Borderlands.
Okay.
Just because we want to draw from both of them.
Sure.
We actually have some coming up that are characters who have been in both.
Should we take her out? Should
Yeah,
we
we
unbox her? Cool. Let's do this. She's taped shut.
Let's see if fingernails can do it. Don't get a close.
We don't have to unbox her. Do we have one of these in our display?
I think we do now. I gave one to Ops. I think
Okay,
they put her
okay.
up there. Yeah, I'm gonna butcher the box if I try
Let's
to.
leave it. Let's leave it in the box. It's
Tiny
tiny.
Tina.
That's pretty rad. And is this available now or is this coming
Yes.
soon? Okay.
Tina and Handsome Jack are available now. I actually have seen them in the wild.
Oh, that's awesome.
If you're in the
What
Dallas area.
What kind of stores are they usually stocked at?
Toys R Us. I know in the Dallas area.
Not for long.
Yeah, I know.
Holy crap! Right?
Hey, maybe there will be like a clearance sale.
God, I'm
yeah,
so
that's
sad.
such a bummer.
So I
but-
don't know if you guys are aware, but apparently Toys R Us is shutting down all of its retail locations.
Yeah.
Disaster.
Yeah, well, I just heard about that this week. And
It's I
sad.
can't believe it. It's
Yeah.
end of an era.
But in the Dallas area, Madness Comics, I know if they aren't sold out, I know they had them in stock at one point in time.
Cool.
We also have Zero and Lilith are the new ones right now. So I believe they're up for pre-order on 2K's store and also Mcfarlane, and look for them basically anywhere that carries Mcfarlane figures, whether that's Target or Walmart or your
Doesn't
local comic
GameStop
shop.
carry those too?
I don't know if they have these specifically.
Uh-huh.
I will try to find out.
Okay.
But,
Yeah. What are there any like normal stores? Did you say Target?
Target does
Okay.
carry them.
Oh,
I
awesome.
don't know if every single Target has them, but I definitely have seen them
Okay.
at some of the ones around here.
If you want stuff like this, you can go to like a Target and tell them you want this. And it's really interesting. We live in a world now where if assuming you get someone's actually going to do their job, they'll send that request up. It's all computerized, right? So when there's demand, the supply tends to appear.
Yeah.
So if you want this kind of stuff, you can create demand for it by asking for it.
Yeah, I mean, you can ask an employee at your local Target, tweet at Target. There
Yeah.
are many ways to reach Target, which is really cool.
Yeah.
The time we live in.
Yeah.
All right.
What else you got?
And we don't have to just harass Target. We can harass other stores.
That's right. Harass whatever's local to you. Harass them.
All right. We have some Funkos here.
Oh, I love the Funkos.
Which we've been doing these for a while, but I still think they're really cute. We have Zero and Lilith here. Lilith is out of the box. These are a lot easier to unbox. So.
Is this a newer set? Like when did this Lilith come out?
Lilith is one of the older ones.
Okay, yeah, that's
she's
what
been
I was
out a
gonna
while. And then I think Zero is the newest one.
Awesome.
This is probably going to make all kinds of crinkly noises on the mic, but deal with it. Yeah, here's Zero. What I like about him is there's so much expression in his pose, you know, his little...
Yeah, these Funkos are so great. And, of course, the head turns. So
yeah.
That's so cool.
And
so it's interesting. He's using a Hyperion machine gun, and it looks like Lilith has got some kind of pistol.
I think she has... I don't want to be wrong. So I don't want to say. I remember talking about what gun she was going to have, but I can't remember which one we went with. So I don't want to embarrass myself.
There's a couple
by saying
things.
What I think it is.
There's a couple that it could be, but it's painted red. Right on. I love the Funko stuff. Funko is sold also in comic book shops, and
I mean, really everywhere.
they have them at GameStop. They have them.
I think even Walmart has them.
Really?
Now. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I noticed, like, I remember seeing when they came out at a place, and, like, the next day they were all gone.
Yeah.
The Borderlands ones don't tend to stay.
No, these were sold out really fast. I don't know, Zero might still be around, but I know the Tiny Tina, when she came out, no one could find it anywhere.
That was it,
so, yeah. So.
Well, that's kind of what you want.
Yeah.
I feel bad for people that didn't get a chance, but...
Okay, and then so I'm gonna save the most exciting things for last.
Okay.
But so, and then we have this is a Glitch T-shirt with so I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but basically his portrait is made out of little
words
saying. So let's see.
Yeah, like I can see right here. It says, "My flesh is forever. My axe is thirsty."
Come on, with more expression here, Randy.
My axe is thirsty.
Nipple salads!
There's a lot of that TikTok. Yeah, so the Krieg is made of words. So where's this shirt? This is awesome. This is a Glitch?
This is Glitch. I know they usually take this one to PAX's, different shows that they go to.
Okay, so this is like a trade show. Yeah, and you can also go to the Glitch website. What's the Glitch website?
I believe it's just glitch.com.
So this is an officially licensed...
Yes. If you see these
Borderlands
guys at a show,
product.
These guys are official. Support these guys because they are official. Occasionally I catch things at shows that are not official.
I'll tell you what, at Gamescom it was a trip. Like there was so much bootleg stuff there.
Yeah. Gamescom is going to be a project for me this year, I think.
Yeah, we should go turn all the people that are doing a good job, turn them into legit people.
Yeah.
And all the people that are doing a bad job, shut them down.
Yep. Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
We have this one. And then I'm super excited about this because this was when I took over licensing. This is one of my first deals that I did from beginning to end.
Hail to the king, baby.
And I'm also I am a Duke Nukem super fan. Never thought my life would turn out that way, but I am a Duke true believer now. So I'm just happy that we have stuff for Duke now. I love that it's like a heavy metal inspired design. And this is also in Box Lunch, which we have never had anything there before. I think this one is also coming to Hot Topic, so this one is...
That's cool.
It's something different. And
that looks like a Hot Topic shirt.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I wear this shirt all the time, too. So.
I don't have one of those.
I think I saved one for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
I do have a T-shirt drawer at home, but I don't remember. I don't think I have that T-shirt in my T-shirt drawer.
I can't remember. I know I dropped off some shirts in your office for you, but maybe this one wasn't in there.
Maybe
but
I
I'll
didn't
get you one.
Okay. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I love this shirt. I love whenever I wear it, like in the grocery store or wherever. Somebody will
has to
always
make
be
it.
like, Duke Nukem. I've been playing that since before you were born. It's like, no, you haven't actually. But
that's a compliment, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
What they're saying is you look younger than...
Yeah, not that young. All right, so this one, the reason I have this one, this was a sample for a shirt that we did internally. This is the Gearbox logo. But the reason I have this, and ignore that because we're not doing that in the final design, We are getting ready to start doing the Merch by Amazon program, and this is more open about this project than I have ever been publicly, so you heard it here first.
What is the Merch by Amazon program?
Okay, so Merch by Amazon, of course, is Amazon. So they are a giant machine. They can do... Their program basically allows us to create as many t-shirt designs as we want, including designs that are more deep cuts, more inside jokes that, Target would never carry because it's too niche.
Oh, I see.
They do them as print-on-demand shirts. It's super high quality. I even got to tour their factory. Basically, you order the shirt, you pick what color shirt your design goes on.
And then the shirt is made just for you.
And arrives to you within 2 days.
What?
With the Prime shipping. So.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
this is really rad.
It's awesome. And being on this factory floor.
How many designs can we do?
As many as we want. Hundreds.
What?
We can do hundreds.
Okay.
So I'm working on it.
Okay, so should we get the community involved?
I would love to.
Maybe there's a way to get the community to design shirts, and we can make the winners realities, make the best actual
So I am
options.
working on what is the best way to do that, because I feel like it's an obvious idea.
Yeah,
we should do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're making shirt designs,
what?
Don't go selling them rogue. Don't do that. But
become legit.
Yeah, let's work together.
That's awesome.
But we're planning a little bit of a launch for Merch by Amazon. So if you follow our social channels, you'll be seeing some stuff about it in the very near future. But a little secret is I'm quietly putting listings up for these day after day, so that they'll all be in place when we get ready to really talk about it more publicly. So if you're on Amazon, you can go ahead and search for some of our different properties. The Gearbox brand itself, not just Borderlands, we're also going to be doing things with Duke, Brothers in Arms, Homeworld. Just make sure if you're looking at things on Amazon, make sure the brand says Gearbox or Homeworld or Borderlands. Make sure it's official.
Yeah, the actual trade. So is that just t-shirts, or are there other things we can make?
Right now it's t-shirts and sweatshirts.
Okay.
But again, if there are things that you would like to see, let Amazon know.
Let me tell you, my favorite wallet that I've been using this wallet. This is a Jacobs wallet.
Yes.
And it's got the little vault symbol there, and it says Gearbox right there. It's got the Gearbox logo. There's a vault symbol. I don't know if you guys can see that.
I can't tell what level of detail we're getting.
It's a little fuzzy, but there's and it says Jacobs, and it's it's a badass leather wallet, and this wallet is so good, and
How long have you had that?
Probably 5 years.
It's holding up well then for 5 years.
Yeah, but it's not going to hold forever. So
I'm actually working on a replacement for that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Hopefully, actually, when we have things ready, I would like to debut them on the podcast if we can.
Oh, okay, cool.
No.
Yeah, right on.
Nothing like asking you on the spot.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Also, do you know, have you ever seen a ratchet belt buckle? Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
So, I wear these belt buckles. Oh, my fly's down, sorry. These belt buckles, they don't have a normal, there's no holes in it. It's this ratchet thing, so you just kind of put it in.
And it's exactly the right size.
No, it ratchets.
That's awesome.
And it's just and then when you want it, you just lift. But I need a Gearbox or, or Borderlands or Duke Nukem.
We can probably do that.
Big old nuke symbol belt buckle would be pretty rad. So
I have some ideas for partners for that, but if you might be that partner, I'm still taking contenders, so call me.
Fair enough.
Oh, and one more thing before we go on to the next segment. So we have this. I hope you can see the detail on this. She was actually featured in an IGN article recently, but this is a company.
That's a Gauge.
Yes, it's Gauge. I made them do Gauge for the sample because she's my favorite and I'm selfish.
That's amazing.
So this company, this is called Game Parent, and they...
Oh, we met with these guys.
Yes,
yeah. I know this.
I probably shouldn't be showing this yet because we haven't signed the deal yet. I hope to finish that up at GDC.
Okay, good.
But we're all aligned on wanting to do something. We just have to figure out the particulars. But they have, and I'm not going to try to be super technical about it because I'll just be wrong, but they have an advancement in technology that allows them to print game files with a 3D printer with more accuracy and more detail than previously.
I think like their pitch is like, if we do this right, people can take their character with their customizations,
Yes.
the pose that they want it to be in, and just say, I want that as an action figure.
So that is the ultimate. Even if we don't do the ultimate, even just their technology to take our files and print it is better than what you would get otherwise.
This is really good. I mean, this is like Gage. She's basically in a T pose. If we make any more samples, we should have our animators give the character like a really awesome pose. But holy crap, the paint job's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Is this hand painted or is this digitally painted?
This is hand painted.
Okay, this is an extremely high end paint job.
So one of the things that I want to do with them is, and of course we'll get better poses, but I want to do figures that come unpainted so that everyone, we see crafters and cosplayers. People have really mastered the Borderlands inking style in the community, and so we want to do some blank figures.
Can these guys, like, let's imagine, you know what? I just want the class mod, and I wonder if you could make it life size.
I bet that could happen.
Can you imagine if you're a cosplayer, you just order the actual freaking prop that's from the actual video game files, the actual content. You can get Gage's glasses, Gage's belt, Gage's class mod.
We totally want the glasses.
All of her holsters, her arm. Oh my god. This is so cool.
Yeah, their level of detail is amazing.
This is really well done. Check it out.
Yeah, we also have...
Our booth operator turned around and was like, whoa, look at that thing. That's even the back, like they painted the skull on the back. Like,
so if you look up the Game Print IGN article, you can actually see a tease for an unannounced Gearbox title. We actually did one of our characters who is sort of like a grandma in a mech suit. She was labeled with very little description.
Our mech granny, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll let you worry about what that is.
Yeah, I can drop that. I think that one's that's one of the player models in a game that we're in pre-production on. Basically, we did a very closed technical test with it, and I think we called it Project 1v1 when we did that. But that's not going to be the title of the game. But yeah, that's that space granny from that's cool. That's awesome. Thanks for bringing that stuff, Erica.
Oh, no problem.
Wow, that's so cool. Well, that I'm totally blown away. Like I love it when things that we make virtually manifest in the real world. It's like just one of the greatest things ever.
So now the pressure's on when I go to GDC to finish that deal now that we've shown it. But I'm sure we'll be able to. Kareen, if you're watching.
So I saw two colors pop up, and then the screener punted them. So I don't know. I'm guessing they're trolls. I don't know what the deal is there. But right now, if you want to call in and talk to us, you'll have a good line on that. So feel free to call in, and we can chat about whatever you want. In the meantime, we should talk about some other interesting things. So you did toy. When was Toy Show, by the way?
That was the end of January?
Okay, so that wasn't too long ago. Yeah. And then we have GDC next week.
Yes.
Is there another show between GDC and E3, or is E3 the next big thing for you?
So we have Licensing Expo.
Oh, that's right.
Which
you and I did last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to go with you this year.
Yeah.
Unless you need me. I don't think you need me.
I don't know. Do you want to staff a booth for about 8 hours a day?
Are you doing that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. I actually have to recruit someone from the studio to help me out with it.
Okay, you need a booth mate.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm going to get a little lonely. But
yeah. Do you have like stuff? Do you have like branding and like?
So I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm actually trying to develop a really cool portable booth that we can take apart and put in checked luggage, basically, so that we can take it to different shows all over the world, and basically we can pull a booth out of our suitcases. But,
wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. When is the Licensing Expo?
It is May. I don't want to be wrong about it. Let me just check my calendar.
Is it middle or end of May?
It is like the middle of May.
Okay, well that's not too long from now. You've got like 2 months.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, it's gonna be tight to put that. So it starts on May 22nd.
Okay.
So it's
So
gonna be
you've
tight
got a little
to get that
more
booth
than
together.
2 months to get a booth going.
Yep, and I am slightly panicky about it,
Okay.
but I know we'll figure it out. So
do you have the necessary support in the studio, like get creative services on it with you, or?
Some people are gonna be asked for favors.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Cool. Well, let me know if you need me to help you swing on anything there. But I think that'll be really important because the licensing expo had. Oh, by the way, speaking of licensing, like, I don't know if you know this. This is so exciting. Right now, this weekend in Frisco is the Texas Pinball Festival.
Yes, I did know about this.
I'm thinking I might, I don't know how late they're open on Sunday. I was going to go by, but I was thinking I might swing by after the podcast just to see what's there, because I love pinball, obviously. But we need to get pinball machines made, man. We need to get, we need we need all of them. But there should exist, like, a legit Duke Nukem balls of steel pinball machine. Like, that needs to exist in the real world. Like, why doesn't it exist? That needs to happen, right?
Yeah, no. That is something that's on my list that I haven't been able to really delve into who's who in pinball yet.
There's not many. There's like it got really small.
Yeah.
And then it was like last man standing. It was like only Stern, and now a bunch of boutique guys have shown up, and some of them are doing really awesome things. There's some folks out of New Jersey that have made these really awesome, based on big brands. There's like a Wizard of Oz one they did, and Lord of the Rings one they did.
Oh,
and
that's really cool.
There's some, there's some cool stuff. They're mostly licensed stuff, but really, they're incorporating more video technology and LED technology. So, it's I don't know. I think it might be time. I think.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I noticed back in the early 2000s when we started developing Brothers in Arms, and I've always been into pinball. But I noticed there's no real war-themed pinball machine. No one's really done a good. I can't really think of any off the top of my head, war-themed. And it seems like Brothers in Arms could make a really awesome pinball machine. And I don't know why. I don't know why there's no war-themed pinball machine, but somehow that's an overlooked genre.
I would like to see that with someone who's really willing to kind of go out of the standard and do something totally different. I mean, not totally different. You still want to be playing the game we all know and love.
But be clever and creative with it, and try some inventive play modes.
Like, I want people to see it and say, I've never seen a pinball machine do that.
So I've got a friend of mine who is kind of a homebrew pinball machine developer, and he made this awesome Star Trek pinball machine, just totally, like, he took an existing one and just remade everything and totally custom, and he was on the cover of whatever the magazine for pinball people are, and it's super nerdy and super awesome. And he started working on a Borderlands pinball machine, and we were talking about it, and he had some really clever ideas for, there's the standard ball is silver, right? But imagine if you had extra balls that you could earn, that's something that looks like a very shimmery purple ball, or shimmery blue ball, or shimmery green ball, so you have the loot, and whichever ball that's active affects the scoring, right? So obviously purple's better than blue, which is better than green. Imagine a loot chest that you can come and figure out a way to knock down a boss, and the loot chest pops open, and then one of the colored balls will pop out, and whichever ball you get, that's what your scoring is.
Oh, that could be really cool.
Maybe you can get multiple balls going. That'd be pretty rad, right?
Oh man, I have so many ideas. This could be awesome.
I know, right? So I don't know. I think it's a big risky endeavor for pinball manufacturers to go after it. I mean, they spend a lot of time developing the pinball machine. And then, it's not just software. They have to physically make stuff and develop software. So it's a lot of work before you even have, a prototype.
Right.
I bought in on a pinball machine project, years and years and years ago. These guys somehow got the rights to make a Big Lebowski pinball machine, and I got in on it, and it's like it still hasn't been delivered. Like I bought the machine, like I paid, like it's been so, and it's got cool stuff. Have you seen the Big Lebowski?
Yes, I love Big Lebowski. I don't know if you know this, but in Bulletstorm, in Duke's Bulletstorm tour, there is a Big Lebowski reference.
What is it?
Is because of me. Ishii is saying something to him about calm down, and Duke says, "I'm calmer than you are."
That's Sobchak's line, though. That's Walter's line.
Yeah.
Calmer than you are.
Yeah.
Calmer than you are, dude. Just take it easy, man. That is, like, I think The Big Lebowski might be the greatest motion picture of all time. I don't have an argument against it. It's so good. And the more I see it, the better it gets. I don't know, I really love it. But there's multiple levels to this. The underlayer is bowling.
Okay.
So there's actual bowling pins, and you use the ball to knock down the bowling pins. So of course, yes, you have to bowl. And there's a White Russian on the built into the play field, and I mean it's got everything in it. But and by pre-ordering and by like being one of the early adopters, by what they call them, Lebowski achievers, there's a rug that the whole thing sits on the rug, and it just ties the whole thing together. You have
got to draw a line in the sand.
That's right. That's right. Oh man, it's yeah. So when this pinball machine finally, if it ever does manifest and it ever does exist, I keep telling myself I want to have a Big Lebowski party at my house where we screen the movie, we have the pinball machine, everybody gets White Russians.
Can we wear bathrobes?
Yes, exactly. Right, you got to do it. Right, the whole bit. But why did we get on that? I don't know.
Destiny? I don't know. It's bound to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. But we need pinball machines. Yeah. We need pinball machines for our video game.
Okay, so that little tangent that just happened. Yeah. That is why I love being in licensing, because we can go on tangents like that, and then we can actually do. And then
it could lead to a thing. Yes.
We can do, and any crazy possibility, we can be open to it.
Share that. So if you have any ideas of cool stuff that needs to exist, let Erica know, and maybe she'll make it exist. All right, so let's try this.
We have a caller.
Let's try talking to. Well, let's see. Let's take this and see what happens. You ready?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hello, it's Lauren.
Hey, Lauren, you're on the air. This is Randy. You're on the air with Erica and me. How's it going?
Hi.
It's great. My husband and I are also waiting for a Big Lebowski pinball machine, so we're super excited.
Have you actually ordered one, or no way?
Yeah, we ordered 5 years ago also.
It's been forever, right? And they keep giving the updates, and they're not giving up. they just keep at it just enough to keep me on the edge, believing.
Exactly. We were at the Pinball Festival, and we were looking for you because we saw you there one year.
Oh,
and we were there this weekend.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to get in. Yeah. I was actually out of town. And I got in, and tomorrow morning I leave to San Francisco for the Game Developers Conference. But I think, do you know how late it? I'm gonna just.
I think it actually closed at 2:30.
So I missed it.
I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, next year. Did they have a Big Lebowski pinball machine at the festival this year?
They did have one there this year, yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
there was a pretty good line for it most of the time.
How was it running? Was it looking good? Because I know they keep tweaking it.
Yeah, it keeps getting bigger and bigger. We've been every year, I think, since it was at the Anatole years ago, and it just keeps getting better. Yeah.
That's awesome. How? What? Anything else interesting at the? Sorry, I didn't get to go, so you get to be my intel. We'll get to what you want to talk about in a minute.
But first,
but before we do that, I got to pick your brain here. What else was cool? Was there any new pinball machines or anything?
There was a Metallica game that was really fun.
Oh, that's
AC/DC game. A couple of new.
The AC/DC game, was that the same one that Stern made a few years back, or is this a new AC/DC pinball machine?
It was definitely updated. I'm not sure if it was the same layout or not, but I think the the one had like the inset, lower game like the Big Lebowski does,
Oh, wow.
where you have the little mini game inside.
That I don't remember. I don't recall that in the
was,
Stern one, so that might be new.
Yeah, there was a whole like section of newer, really like fresh machines there, and I did see we saw a couple of new companies whose names we hadn't seen before, so hopefully
that's promising.
There'll be there'll be somebody for you to work with.
That's promising.
Because we would absolutely order that one.
Right.
In a heartbeat.
Right. I think there needs to be a Duke. I think 100%. I want to see a Duke Nukem pinball machine. I want to see a Homeworld pinball machine. I want to see a Brothers in Arms pinball machine and a Borderlands pinball machine.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We got to get them all done.
But will the Homeworld one be in 3D space?
If we're lucky. Yeah, right on. So what's on your mind, Laura? Oh, so you're in the area.
Yeah, we live in Dallas.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, you and I actually met at an IP conference like a long time ago. I was an IP lawyer and you were at an IP conference. But anyway, we live in the area. I've been a tester for you, which was really fun.
That's awesome. Thank you.
We love the franchises. Yeah,
awesome.
We just love you guys.
Well, thank you so much, Lauren. What do you want to talk about?
Well, it's probably too cliche, but maybe you've already said you're not going to say anything about it, but we just always want to know what's going on with Borderlands 3. How is it?
These are great questions.
Second part of my question is there any possibility of any of the Borderlands franchise coming to the Switch? I don't know how that works in terms of their licensing and all that.
All right. Well, on the first thing, there's a saying that they have in publishing. The suits tell me all the time, it doesn't exist until it's announced. And there has so look, it's no secret we're working on more Borderlands stuff. We've got a whole lot of people working on a lot of great things in the Borderlands franchise. We haven't announced any new titles yet for it. But there's actually a lot of stuff going on, and I really can't wait till that moment, but that moment isn't here yet. And as soon as that moment is here, I'm going to just be gushing because I mean, but it makes a lot of sense, right? There's a lot of one thing we're learning about this industry as it develops, as it progresses, and not just this industry, but the world in general, and particularly when it comes to entertainment and media, the things move very fast now. So we don't. It's actually negative to kind of build the hype too early and to make a promise too early. Right now, we live in a world where once it's time to say, "Hey, here's a thing," you kind of want it then, right? Like if somebody tells me like, "Hey, here's this movie you're going to want to go see. It's freaking awesome." And you're like, "What? I got to wait a year?" It's like, or like, "Hey, this band that you love is making a new CD or new album." CD, like I'm such a dinosaur. This band that you love is making a new album, but it's not going to come out for a year. No, it's like you tell me like the band's got an album and I could download it today. Like that's kind of where we're going in the world. So there's less and less lead time between when we actually make the big open public reveal for something we've worked on and when it actually launches. In the video game industry, there'll still be some lead time, but it's not going to be like a year or 2 years like it has been in the past. I think when we announced the original Borderlands, from when we announced it to when we shipped the game was about 2 years.
I wasn't here at the time, but as a fan watching it, that sounds right.
It was about 2 years. That's a long time in today's world. We're not going to do that with the future stuff that we've got in development. There's another very important reason why we shouldn't do that is because things in development it's like art. It's in motion. It's constantly changing, and we're adapting to our own discoveries. And it's really important now more than ever that when we make a promise that we meet or exceed the expectations set by that promise. So we need to. I want to be at a point where we're basically done before we even tell people what we have. And it's just I know it's like a tease because but here's the thing, like I mean, you played Borderlands 2. You know how big of a game that was and how many people had to come together to make that happen. The things that we're doing moving forward are even more complex and even larger.
Wow.
So it's best for us to kind of get all our ducks in a row before we make promises.
I think it's very cool.
I mean,
to
I think
see
as long as
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think as long as the franchise is still going to like exist, I think if fans know that, we have a sense of peace about it, even if it's not going to be like immediately. We just want to know that there's more coming because we love the game.
Look, Borderlands is like $1 billion business, so it's really it's. I mean, not for me, for the suits, like our publishing company, Take-Two Interactive and 2K. Like, this is a really important business for them. They're not. I mean, when something gets to that scope, it's you can count on there being
good.
There being support for it, and there being backing for it. So it's. I don't think we're doing everything we can to not merely not disappoint fans, but actually try to make sure that when we bring more Borderlands content, that it's the kind of content that Borderlands fans love. And it's really, I think, and you had another thought with that. The second thought. What can you remind me what it was again?
Oh, the Switch. Whether there's
Switch.
any possibility of the Switch.
Yeah, I love my Switch. All right, do you have a Switch, Erica?
I don't have one yet.
Yeah,
Do you guys have one, Lauren?
Should I have
Gotta
not
get
admitted
one.
that?
It's
you got to get one.
The Switch. It's a really great system. It's like this is what I said even before it came out. Like when Nintendo first briefed us on it, I thought finally, like, because for most of my adult life, Nintendo has sort of had a split focus between the creative game makers at Nintendo that were focused on their handheld platform, which originated with the Game Boy, and then later we got Game Boy Advance and Game Boy DS and all these other iterations of this handheld thing. And then you have the creative game makers that are focused on their television console. And it divided the attention of the creatives that were making the content. And with Nintendo, their strength is the content. I mean, their hardware is pretty good, but it's really about their brands and their content. Like, just they're really great game makers. And to have all of that energy from Nintendo focused on a single platform now that can either be handheld or be a television console, and it's up to me.
Yeah.
It's what a great time for Nintendo, and what a great time to be a Nintendo gamer. So I love my Switch. We've had interactions with Nintendo, and we do have some titles coming, mostly on our publishing side. But it's tricky. The Switch is not the same. It doesn't have the same capabilities as the others. And so to do a game, I think a good Nintendo Switch game needs to really be cared for as a Nintendo Switch game. It either needs to be designed
because we loved our Vitas. We loved our Vitas. The Borderlands, unfortunately, on the Vita, I think it was just too much for the Vita.
Too much game. Too much game.
Yeah, just too much game. Too much action. Too much. Yeah.
And it's not. First of all, even if the performance was always like, let's imagine an impossible scenario where you're talking 120 frames per second on the Vita, silky smooth as butter. You're still playing a first-person shooter on a handheld, which isn't ideal.
It's difficult with those tiny little sticks. When
the controller is attached to the screen is going to move when you move the controller. And when you're doing twitch movements, we need, like, Borderlands. A game like Borderlands kind of needs to be stuck on the screen, and then we can do whatever the hell we're going to do with our hands with the controller, and our eyes can still fix on the screen. But that said, I think there is a good Switch experience that could be in any of our franchises, frankly, but I think it needs to be a dedicated Switch experience. And there's a couple things holding that back. One thing is that, well, when we're creating entertainment, we kind of want to think about, one of the metrics we want to think about is how many people can we reach? And there's a lot of Switch gamers, but there's a lot more gamers on all the other platforms. So we'll tend to design something around the most possible players on other platforms, right? The second thing is, if we did want to say, okay, here's something that we imagine that only really works on the Switch because of the Switch's unique features, well, now we have to think about that option versus other things we could spend our time with. Thus far, that's led to, from just a practical standpoint, us putting our attentions towards our biggest, most exciting kind of efforts internally, and then us working with third-party developers who just naturally end up there or want to add that. And so there's Switch versions of games. Has there been a Switch version announced for? I'm looking at Erica right now. Do you know if publishing's announced any of the Switch versions for any of the published games?
I don't believe any of them are announced.
Okay, then I'll just stop there then.
I don't want to be the person that blows it.
Yeah. There's at least 3 published games that I know of that are going to have Switch versions. That I'm excited to see how it does, frankly. Oh, and there's another interesting thing about Switch, which is just purely from a creator's point of view. It's to make a Switch game, you're either digital only, which is okay, or you're making chips.
Yeah.
You're making a little memory card, which and there's only one place that can make them, and they got to put them on a boat and drive them across the ocean for us, and they're very expensive, and so it's a different kind of risk, and we're just we're kind of figuring that out right now because we're new publishers, and so we're learning how to take that kind of risk and make those kinds of decisions. Yeah.
That's super helpful and interesting, and thank you. And it raises one more question, which is, I don't know if you've ever played Fallout with the iPhone game, like the iPhone controller added into the Fallout experience. Have you ever?
Yeah. I have.
You can use it as to do your mods and all.
I have. Yeah. I'm. That's not me.
Not a big fan.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's
it's really
something
fun
that I
playing
like the
two-player.
idea of.
Yeah.
But I've never seen an execution that I like, I guess.
Yeah. I'm happy being I'm happy with my Xbox and my PlayStation. I don't. Yeah. I'm really happy with those. I think those guys are answering that need. I'd really like to see more from those guys, and I'd like to see more collaboration with those guys rather than figuring out how other folks can try to imitate them. I'd rather see those guys just build what they're doing up more.
I remember you had you had some VR headset when I saw you at that conference. It was a while back, and you were saying some interesting things about the delay and where the technology was and everything. Do you see everything going toward VR in the future, or what's your
No, definitely not everything. I mean, the thing about VR, not many people actually want to spend a lot of time with that thing on their head, right? I love the immersion. I love it. But I don't think everybody really wants to spend a lot of time with that thing on their head. And I think, though, it's a necessary step for a future version of AR or VR. And that future version will be something where we don't have to have a headset, right? There'll be some other technology which gives us augmented reality in a very passive way. It's probably going to be in our lifetimes where we have something that is small enough to fit in a very thin pair of glasses that will do that. And that'll be nice. But even that, I need glasses. I'm not wearing them right now because I don't like wearing those things on my face. I'm wearing contact lenses. And so that's what we need. I need something where the technology can be small enough to fit in a contact lens. And even that is sketchy because people don't like sticking their fingers in their eyeballs, right? So
that's why I don't have contacts.
Yeah. Oh, do you need corrections?
One of my eyes is a little bit off. I didn't find out until I was 26 or something. Okay. And they were like, you could get a contact. And I'm like, I am too old to learn how to do that.
I'll tell you what, I thought the same thing. I'm going to sell contacts for a second. Forgive me. I thought the same thing. We had this opportunity. My son and I had this opportunity to go to Epcot Center, where they have the second largest aquarium in the world.
Okay.
Basically, it's in the Seas exhibit at Epcot Center. And we had the opportunity to go inside and dive and be basically part of the show at the Seas. And but to do this, we had to be licensed scuba divers. So we find that, we go and we're getting gear, and I'm like, how am I going to see? Like, I had an old pair of glasses. I broke the things that sit on your ears. I broke those off, and I just had the glasses floating inside of the. And then they said, well, you can get goggles ground out with your prescription. Like that sucks too. Like that seems like that's going to be hassle. And the only ones that you can get ground out with a prescription, they didn't have full pieces of glass. They had 2 lenses with the little rubber thing in the middle. So it was like, and I like the big fish tank, with the whole thing on my face. So then the diving instructor said, why don't you just get contacts? And I'm like, he's like, that's what I do. And I'm like, and I had the same thinking you did. I don't want to stick my finger in my eye. But I went to the eye doctor, and they taught me how to do it. And like, I am built for contacts. Like, it is the easiest thing in the world. I can just stick things in and out of my eyeball all day without any issue. My eyes just totally work for them. So, and I'm very thankful. But anyway, VR. I don't know. I think we're going to need contact lens technology or better, or totally passive. Like, maybe there's something that just sort of hovers over my head in a way that I don't hear or see it, and it draws a laser beam onto my eyeball that tricks my eye into thinking that it's seeing something. That technology
sounds crazy now, but you never know.
That technology exists. Yeah, it's not in a drone, but that technology exists, where you can draw onto the eye what you want to show it. But I'll tell you that there will be a future where not just in any moment, but at all moments, we are simultaneously consuming digitally created information in a regular field of view while we're looking at our actual field of view. And it'll be like everything's got a head-up display. I could look at Erica, and it'll tell me when the last time we hung out, what her favorite drink is, remind me how old her kid is and what her kid's name is. So, and we will, when we have access to this in our future versions of ourselves, we won't have to rely on our own memories as much. We can use the collective memory of all the information that our species has available in the cloud and just get direct access to it. And that's going to be great, because a neuron in our brain is a multi-purpose processor. It can either be used for memory or it can be used for decision making. And every neuron that we spend on memory is not spent for decision making. So the more shit we know, the stupider we get. It's actually true. I developed this bit. I have this magic trick I do. Well, it's not really magic. I have this book that has 10,000 digits of pi in it, and I've memorized the first 10,000 digits of pi, which is topical because recently it was Pi Day. It was March 14th. And I as I do this memory demonstration, which is really quite impressive, I have to say, well, look at this. By memorizing 10,000 digits of pi, I've actually made myself stupider, because those neurons will no longer be used for decision making or processing. So anyway, hey Lauren, thank you so much for calling.
Awesome.
It's
thank you so much.
I hope you and I both get our Big Lebowski pinball machine soon.
Absolutely, and maybe we'll see you at the festival next year.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of bummed I missed it this year, but thanks so much for being the eyes on the ground and for telling me what you saw there. And we'll talk to you next time, Lauren.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Cool. That was fun. So you want to try this one?
What?
Our screeners are pretty sure this guy's a troll.
Oh, let's do it.
Okay, so this is probably a troll. This guy wants to talk about Duke Nukem Forever.
And he
says his name is Bob Smith.
All right, Bob
Yeah,
Smith.
that's right. Oh, wait. Yeah, he's here. Okay. I thought he dropped. Okay, let's try this. Hello, Bob Smith. Hello? You're on with Randy and Erica. Are you real?
Yeah.
Hey, I can barely hear you.
What?
Hello. Are you are you there? Are you real?
Yes.
Great. What's your name?
Bob Smith.
Sure. Where are you calling from, Bob Smith?
Georgia.
Georgia, right on. Okay, cool. Well, what do you want to talk about today, Bob Smith?
Duke Nukem 2001.
Yeah? What about it?
Are you guys going to do anything with it? Since you guys have the files and stuff.
Yeah, definitely, actually. So I actually did a live call. It was either a Google Hangout or a Skype thing with a couple of folks that were from Duke4.net. I'm guessing you're from there. Pretty much the only people that call interested in that are from there. And this guy Frederick who made Bombshell, and who's been interested in Duke since forever, as long as I know. And this other guy, Richard, who is a moderator on Duke4.net. Yeah. I think he kind of runs Duke4.net, and super Duke, like crazy Duke fan, and also has put a lot of himself into Duke 3D in the sense of helping people get together to keep the editor going, and himself even working on the editor and having other folks from the mod community. So we all got on this live chat, and you can probably find a record of it on the internet somewhere. And this came up, and what I explained was that long before Gearbox ever was involved, a publishing company called Take-Two had the rights to publish Duke Nukem Forever. Which means they have the rights to all things Duke Nukem Forever, including old content. Now, what I have been doing is, and in fact, we did a license which allows us to commercially release Duke Nukem Forever now. So we've licensed back from Take-Two the rights that they have. They still have their rights, but we now also have a sub-license basically to distribute. But what we don't yet have is something that allow us to give legacy stuff away for free. And so I'm working on that. And I think the way to do it is to have a new package with things like Forever and all the old Megaton stuff, and maybe the 20th anniversary. Basically, everything we can get together. It's a new package, and then have the old DNF stuff as sort of this free giveaway, this free bonus that you can have access to if you have that. That's right now. That's the easiest legal path to do this. But by the way, you should know you will be disappointed with what you see there. There's been, when I was the same as everybody else when I saw the trailers in 1999 and the trailers in 2001. I thought, that looks awesome. I want that. And it built up in my head. The actual people that work on this stuff, they did some great work, but there was no game, right? So if you have in your mind that there's a game that you can play, you will be disappointed. What you'll have are little vignettes, snippets, incomplete pieces of stuff. In fact, I talked with very recently, because this brewed up again, somebody noticed something and referenced some stuff that Frederick had talked about like months ago or even a year ago. And this became a new topic. Maybe it was on Reddit or one of the chans where some of the trollier types hang out, which is why I suspected you might be a troll. But it bubbled up again, and the expectation that they had created or had created for them, not an expectation I created and not accurate, is that there's a full game there, there's hours of gameplay. That's just not the case. And I had a conversation last week with, Keith Schuler, who works at Gearbox, who worked on Duke Nukem Forever since the time I left 3D Realms back in 1997, all the way up until like 2007. which includes working all the way through the 1999 and 2001 trailers. I talked with Brian Cousins, who was the art director on Duke Nukem Forever during that era, who also is an employee of Gearbox. I talked with Stephen Cole, who's a level designer at Gearbox, who was also at 3D Realms during all that time. John Anderson, who was a level designer during all that time. And I've had conversations with Alan, who's in San Diego right now. And Alan is like the guy. And they all say, no, it's that's bullshit. There's not hours and hours of gameplay. There's nothing that resembles finished. Somebody said something that's 90% complete, not even close. Maybe 9% complete might be a more accurate number. But there is some cool stuff there. And if you're interested in seeing into what game development looks like when game development isn't done, you're going to see some interesting things. You'll see works in progress. You'll see assets from that era. You will see snippets of level design from that era. And
I do think that is really what I've seen of it. Yeah. I think that it's really interesting, and it really, if your expectation is correct, yes, it is really interesting, and it's a cool look into what was really behind all of the
It
hype.
Is.
And that's cooler, I think, than a lost game.
I wish there was a lost game.
Yeah,
I wish there was,
too,
but that's not. If there was, it would have been released.
Yeah.
That's not. There was nothing even in the vicinity of releasable. And in fact, to this day, I think that 3D Realms never released Duke Forever. The people, about half of the development team, didn't want to give up, and they assembled the game that was the thing that got released commercially. And I think they're proud that they stuck it through and saw that happen. And I'm glad that I got to see it and play through it. But I think you'll see other people like, who knows what his opinion is today, but I do remember talking to George about this at one point, and he said, like, yeah, there's a reason why we never released it.
Yeah.
And that's because you don't want people to be disappointed. But as a study into history and into the history of game development, it's really neat. And I talked to Alan, actually, who, when I last talked to Alan Blum, he was motivated to help out in the kind of curating of that. Like, how do you consume this content? Do we need a tour guide? And should that tour guide be Alan to help us understand and consume this content? But it's absolutely, it's gotta get out there, and there's a whole lot of complexity behind it. One, there's some legal complexity. We got to do things right. Two, there is some actual software complexity to this. This is ancient stuff that does not really run right on modern systems. So we either got to just say good luck, or we've got to do something to kind of prepare it and package it in some way that makes it actually accessible to someone. And I'm not going to be the one doing that work, but I've enlisted, this is an objective within Gearbox to make sure this happens, and we've got to fight through these challenges before it can be real. Game developers can dig through the stuff, and people that are not risk averse of digging through unfinished software will find some things, but they won't be able to use everything. Like, the more adept you are, the more likely you'll be able to see the full content of what actually exists there. But most people, I'm afraid, won't be able to even see anything in its current state because it's just not accessible to lay people, and it's really developer only kind of stuff. Did I answer your question at all? Did I give you what you were looking for when you called me?
Yes.
Awesome. How do you feel about that?
I'm fine with it. I just want to see what it looks like.
Yeah. What are you expecting?
You said what?
What are you expecting? I'm curious. What do you expect to see when you get, like, what do you think is there?
I expect to see something interesting, like some interesting game mechanics, mental activity.
Yeah. Well, you're not going to see much beyond what was in the trailer, right? Like imagine you see a movie, and then you can walk around the set of that movie. Yeah, you can look at some things that the camera's not looking at, but it's still the same movie set. And it's when you look around at the things that the camera wasn't pointed on for the trailer, doesn't look as good.
Yeah.
There's a reason why the cameras are pointed in the directions they're pointing in, right? So if you're prepared for that, then you're gonna enjoy digging through it. One of the things that I think has hurt it from an expectation point of view is that through the decisions made by George and Scott Miller when 3D Realms had shut down, and when there's just a lot of mess, and through some of those decisions, some other people got access to things, and as a consequence of that, it's kind of become, there's like a different hype around the 2001 stuff and the 1999 stuff, building it up as if it's more than it is. And because it's kind of cool for some of those people to be in the club of those that have seen it, those that got access. And I think they've done, those of us that saw those trailers back when they came out and really wanted those great, amazing games to come out, I think that's done those minds a disservice. And I'm sorry if you're one of those minds. I've tried my best not to be part of that, and to just, I've tried my best to do right by Duke, but I get it if you have expectations that have never been fulfilled, and I know that there's some people that put a lot of that on me. I've tried to, for my part, we've invested a lot and spent a lot and lost a lot and taken a lot of heat, just to make sure that Duke isn't dead. Where Duke was before we got involved, was it didn't come out, wasn't ever going to come out. The people behind it were being sued for many, many millions of dollars. They were in millions of dollars of debt, and they had no ability to pay any developer to continue. That was the state that Duke was in. And now, not only did we get to have Forever, whether you liked it or not, it existed and we got to experience it. We also now have a chance to get access to all the other stuff, and there's hope for a future for Duke, which I think is what's more interesting. There's a real path towards a future of new Duke Nukem games, and I think that is what we should all be looking forward to and hoping for and wanting to see the best of.
I know that there's a lot that we can't, I know why we can't reveal the full complexity of all the legal aspects and things like that, but I mean, having seen it from the inside and seen just how complex the situation really is, but we're still trying to, bring things to people. I mean, it really is a testament to how much love there is for Duke at Gearbox.
Yes.
And I mean, I was not a Duke Nukem fan when I started, and there was something about why is Randy still trying to bring this to people that kind of piqued my curiosity and made me really dig into Duke. And it's, I mean, frankly, I've seen you attempt crazy things for that game.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's a mess. I told the story back when we first announced Duke Nukem, re-announced Duke Nukem Forever, that it was like, the way I felt about it, it was like, imagine you're driving down a desert highway in the middle of nowhere, and in front of you, there's a horrible, horrible car accident. Like, it's just a mess. And there's metal and gears all over the street, and there's bodies and blood, and it's just a disaster. Do you just drive past and keep going because you got places to go and you got a whole carload of people that are on their way to Wally World? Or do you pull over and see if you can help out? Well, it's not even that simple of a question. Like, most people, frankly, they just keep driving. They might call somebody, but they're not going to pull over and get their hands dirty. But this wasn't just any car. Like, it was like my old boss. It was like my first job. That's like, that's who was in the car. And we're not driving any car, but we happen to be in an ambulance, and right behind us is a tractor trailer that can, the tow truck, and we've got mechanics and doctors, and we've got all the kinds of people you need to deal with this kind of accident. Also, it's the middle of the desert. There's literally no one else around. If we kept driving, that's it. But if we stop and help, we might be able to help out. And yeah, it's expensive. It's messy. We've been hurt. Some people have blamed us for a whole bunch of stuff. We could have just kept driving, and no one had been wiser, and had nothing to do with this. But I think Duke deserved more than that, and deserves more than that, and that's why we pulled over, and that's why we've been helping as best as we can.
How could you live with not knowing what was salvageable from the wreck?
Yeah, right? Like, how could you live with yourself just driving on and not knowing, like, are they dead? Like, there's, you gotta help. So that's what we did, and that's what we're still doing. Hey, anything else you want to talk about, Bob Smith?
Nah.
All right. I
just want to close them.
Yeah. Why do you feel like you needed to use a fake name with us?
What?
Why do you feel like you needed to use a fake name with us?
Hey, man, Bob Smith is my real name, man.
I'm sorry?
He says it is his real
Bob
name.
Smith is my name.
Wow. Well, okay. I'll let it be then. Hey, well, thanks for your call. Thanks for calling, Bob Smith. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Okay.
All right. Cheers. Bye. What do you think? Is that guy really Bob Smith?
I mean, there's got to be Bob Smiths in the world. I mean,
sure.
Maybe it is.
He really took a long time when I asked him what his name is.
Yeah.
I think, but what struck me wasn't that he used a fake name. It's why he felt like that, why he needed to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what he was afraid of.
I mean,
just your first name's fine.
Yeah. If we assume that it wasn't his real name, I am still curious about.
Yeah.
Like,
what was that? Yeah.
Like, what is the risk? What is to be lost?
I don't know. It's weird.
I mean, because we're up here with our real names.
Yeah, I got it all hanging out, man. Super transparent and exposed. Wow. Well, I'm glad he called, though. I mean, yeah. I know that there's a lot of, and if anybody who's watching that is into Duke Nukem and has been kind of following some of that stuff, you can like link this or repost this to the folks in those places that are digging in on that content. Maybe in watching it, other people can kind of get their expectations set and know that something's coming. We're working on it. But yeah, I'm glad that person called with that question.
Yeah.
Bob Smith.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got a Duke question because I mean, it really is. I mean, I remember the hype. I was pretty young at the time, but I do remember the hype, and I think I was more kind of morbidly curious, and also liked the idea of a character who was offensive. To be honest, as a kid.
It's subversive, and for everyone in that, and it was the right time and place, right? Because there's a whole lot of people, ages 7 to 15, that were discovering computers in a moment when they were first being discovered, and Duke Nukem was a game for everyone in that era, Duke Nukem 3D, that was showing them what computers could do, but also doing it kind of like, this isn't something you want your parents to see. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that it gave it this weird kind of subversive kind of angle that was one of a kind that I don't think we can have today.
And then later I sort of, as an adult, I began to look at it in a way of what I thought it was, how, well, this is not the kind of games that I stand for or whatever. And then when I realized I was going to have to work with it, I was like, okay, well, I've got to really look at this. I've got to make my peace with it, or I guess I have to quit my job. And when I dug into it, I did find so much more that's subversive. And it's one of the first games that, like, got us exploring, like, is there such a thing as responsibility in what kind of game we make and what we put into the world?
Yeah.
It hadn't been thought about before Duke came along and pushed that envelope.
Art should be uncomfortable, frankly.
Yeah.
Art should be uncomfortable. And here's the thing, like, it doesn't matter. You know, like, you can do art that, like, pick a subject you're uncomfortable with, and you can do art that attacks it either straight or subverts that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. People are going to consume it the way they're aligned. Right?
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, right? So, like, there are some people that think that Duke Nukem is, for example, misogynistic. There's others that see him as a caricature of that and as an argument against that.
Yeah.
And you can kind of have it both ways depending on what your orientation is before you come into it. To me, it's like when you watch a movie. It's like Army of Darkness or something. It's like, it's not. it's just silliness.
No, I definitely see it, and I mean, one of my favorite games is Bayonetta, and I have over and over again, and we should probably cut me off before I get started about it, argued for, you know, Bayonetta is not an anti-feminist game, or, you know, Bayonetta is not afflicting something on women, and you know, I think there are different ways of seeing things, and
it's a video game.
Yeah.
It's just a video game. I love Bayonetta. To me, it's like, I like the gameplay, and the universe I don't totally get, and the art I don't totally get. I mean, they seem to serve each other, but to me, it's like, wow, whoever made this has just got some weird stuff going on. But
that's what I like about it. That like the universe, it does make me a little uncomfortable, and I like that it does. It's fascinating how. But I'll tell you, I think that's one of the great things that video games can give us, is because it's interactive in the way that art can make us uncomfortable or offend us. And I love that when art offends me, frankly. But because it can do so in a more personal way than any other medium, because it can make us participants in that tension, which I think is beautiful. And that's why we need art. And that's why we need video games. Now that we have them, I think our species will become dependent upon them. Some of us already are.
Yeah, I was up till, like, so at around 11 p.m. last night, I was playing South Park, the Fractured Butthole, or the Fractured Butthole, if you want to enunciate it the way they meant. And I was kind of drifting. Like, I was like in my chair. It was like 11 p.m. And I was like, fuck. Like, I love South Park, and I really want to love the game, and I'm still banging on it, but it's having a hard time engaging me.
Really?
Yeah. Have you tried it?
I haven't, because I love South Park when, like, my hypothetical roommate is watching it and I'm hearing it from the other room. Like,
okay. Yeah.
When I'm hearing it, I think it's really funny, but I'm an art style snob, and look at it.
They're Matt and Trey are the first ones to tell you that their art is crappy. It's like it's what they could do. It's like the best they could do just to deliver the story.
And I learned later that that's part of the joke.
Yeah.
But I didn't get it when I first started watching it. So.
But I was drifting at 11, and I thought, I'm gonna go to bed, and so I got up, and I pulled myself a sparkling water from the fridge, and then I sat down at my PC because I was playing on the console. I sat at my PC because Christy's playing Persona 5. I don't know if you played that.
Yeah.
And boys, like, my son's, he's all up in Rainbow Six right now. So, and so I sat at the PC, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to bed at 11. I'm not doing that. So I fired up this new game called Into the Breach. Have you heard of it?
Yeah,
it's by the FTL guys.
Is it good?
Do you like FTL? Do you remember FTL?
I am.
Okay.
Kind of love-hate.
Okay.
Like.
So I love FTL, and so I fired it up, and holy shit! Like, if you like FTL, it'll just own you. And it was 5 a.m. I got to bed at 5 a.m. So, that was great. And I actually was doing that right before I came here to do this podcast, and I was playing Into the Breach. So it's a little indie game. It's super fun. And I think it improved. It has all of the sensibilities of FTL, but it's improved on them in a lot of ways. FTL can be pretty punishing.
I have a frustration problem.
Yeah.
Like I have a
easy mode on Into the Breach. On your 5th or 6th playthrough, you will win.
Okay.
Whereas in FTL, easy mode, you will not win on your 5th or 6th playthrough. You won't win on your 20th playthrough. FTL.
See, for me, it's I don't mind having to try again, but every time I try again, I want to approach the problem from a different way. Yeah. I don't like when I know exactly what I have to do, and I just can't execute it perfectly.
Yeah, there is RNG.
Yeah.
There's less RNG in Into the Breach.
Okay.
So it's pretty good.
So maybe it'll be a palatable thing for me.
I don't know. You might give it a shot just to see, but look, there's so many choices. There's so many freaking games right now. This week, I totally miscalculated. This weekend was supposed to be a Sea of Thieves weekends, but I miscalculated. It's actually next week. So It releases while we're at GDC, and then I'll be playing that this next weekend.
Okay. Well,
so Christy's going to be, she's staying in San Francisco. I'm coming back early Saturday morning after GDC, and she is getting together with her friends, and they're going to do a Napa crawl. And they're going to actually spend a few days just going to all the vineyards in Napa. I don't drink alcohol at all.
Yeah.
I've never tasted alcohol. So I fly home. I'm just going to be playing Sea of Thieves. That's my idea of a freaking hot weekend.
I'm glad you reminded me of that because I had totally forgot that was coming.
And it sucks because Sea of Thieves and Ni no Kuni 2 are dropping in the same time. And I already got a backlog, and now
I can't get over my Fortnite addiction long enough to
you got hosed.
Yeah.
I played both PUBG and I've been fortunate enough. I've been playing Fortnite for 4 years because they invited me out to one of the earliest kind of prototype tests, and the Battle Royale version is great fun. But I just played both of them just enough to kind of get it, because that's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I made a decision years ago after I got over my World of Warcraft addiction to just not let rabbit hole games get me like that anymore.
Yeah.
To consume them, understand it, enjoy it, and then, okay, I'm not going to... There's too many choices. There's too many other great things.
See, I'm good at, I'll play it, I'll get kind of addicted to it, I'll let my addiction go so long, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just not going to play it for 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
I did the same thing with WoW.
I'm talking people out of a game that we publish.
See, I actually I've only played a tiny bit of Battle Royale because I just I like playing Save the World.
Save the Worlds. It's so much fun. It's really great. Yeah.
And co-op games, there aren't that many great co-op games.
I will tell you, though, one of the things that is one of the reasons why it hasn't grabbed me, the very first alpha, or not even alpha, it was a prototype that I played of Fortnite. Some of the loot was just even weirder than the stuff in the and really interesting, and I miss some of those objects.
You want the weird things.
I want, there were just enough of them. There was the obvious, strange. Obvious, strange. And the strange, I still lament that version of the game.
You are doing to me the thing that Duke Nukem has done to everyone.
Right,
where I'm imagining something that's so much weirder and more novel than what I have, and now I want it.
Yeah. No, it was really good, and I actually, a part of me liked that first version of Fortnite I played. That was my favorite version.
I mean,
isn't that messed up?
I'm all for the little pockets of weird and things. So it's such a hook for me.
It was super janky though, so that's the problem, right? The jankiness has to come out of the way in order to get to be a more commercial product. And anyway, dude, we've got to go. It's we are over time.
Are we?
Yeah, it's 6:06. Gosh, there's a caller we didn't get to. I feel bad about that, but you know what? If you're on the line and we didn't get to you, you can call back next week. We'll be back with another episode of At Nerdvana Live. This was super fun. Will you come back and do the show again when you've got some more swag and some badass awesome stuff? Awesome. Cool. Thanks everybody for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this edition of At Nerdvana Live. And maybe I'll be back next week. Maybe Erica will be back in a future week. And somebody will be here, and we'll see you then. Cheers.